What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Penn State Nittany Lions and give a little preview for the 2024 football season. So after last season, they went 10-3. James Franklin, pretty average season for Penn State. That's about where they've been under him, 10 wins a year. But looking into this season, I think the expectation should be even higher than that. I think 11-1 is a very real possibility when you look at their schedule, and we'll get to that later on in the video. But for now, we're just going to take a look at their depth chart and see what James Franklin has on his team this year. So at quarterback, we have Drew Aller. I think we know what Drew Aller is at this point. He was a big-time prospect coming out of high school, but we just need to see more of that development. Throwing down the field, Penn State's offense has been really run-heavy, intermediate to short passes. Drew Aller has all the ability in the world to throw the ball vertical. It's just we haven't seen it yet. They did go out and get Julian Fleming from Ohio State, which is a big-time pickup. He figures to be in the rotation, along with Harrison Wallace III and Caden Sanders. So there's a good three receivers right there at the top. Now after them is where question marks come into play. Is Tyler Johnson or Amari Evans next in line? Two unproven guys that really have no production. But they do have Tyler Warren at tight end, who's one of the best tight ends in the Big Ten. He could lead the team in receiving yards, and that would not be a bad thing. But that goes back to what I said previously. That means that Penn State has not included the vertical deep pass that we've been looking for out of Drew Aller these last couple of seasons. Because when Penn State gets in those big games, like at Michigan and Ohio State, they struggle to score because teams like that can load the box against Penn State and make them throw the ball. Now, at running back, this is why you do want to hand the ball off. They have one of the best running back duos in college football this season, with Nick Singleton and Katron Allen returning for their junior seasons. Both of them came in as freshmen 2 years ago and took the Big Ten by storm. Now they're going to do it for a third straight year. Behind Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, this is probably the best duo in the Big Ten. Now, offensive line, you have to replace first-round pick Olu Fashanu. But hey, they got a lot of guys. They got Nolan Rucci, a transfer, who's a junior. He's going to step in probably at right tackle, it looks like. You have Nick Dawkins, Sal Wormley. And then I'll be interested to see where Alec Burkmeyer steps in. He's a redshirt freshman. He was a very high recruit coming out of high school as an offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman. But with two seniors at center and right guard, I don't know if left guard is where he's going to step in or he's going to wait another year and then step in at center in 2025. We'll have to wait and see. But all in all, the offensive line is great. And running back obviously is the strong point of this offense. Now defensive-wise, we can't expect anything less. This is going to be one of the best defenses in the Big Ten, one of the best defenses in college football. They have Danny Dennis Sutton and Abdul Carter coming off the edge. They should be one of the best edge duos in college football as well. Inside, they have Devon J. Thomas and Zane Durant, two experienced players. They have Kosiah Zard and Amin Vanover at tackle as well. Now linebacker, Kobe King and Tony Rojas. Together, another great duo at linebacker. Now, they only took one transfer to start this year on defense, and I think that says a lot about what they have coming back and what they've developed over these last couple of seasons. That transfer is A.J. Harris from Georgia. He is going to be their nickel corner, and he's going to be out there with Cam Miller, Kevin Winston Jr., Zakee Wheatley, and then the leader of the secondary, Jalen Reed, returning for his senior season. Now, the defense will lead this team to victories when the offense struggles, as I mentioned, in bigger games, close games. Penn State plays a lot of low-scoring games, but the defense is good enough to win those games for them. So I don't think the offense will slow them down in the win-loss column, but when it gets to the big games later in the season, we're talking about the playoff, are they going to be able to score 30-plus against a good defense? Now let's take a quick look at the schedule that I mentioned earlier in the video. This might be Penn State's easiest schedule in the last 5 to 10 years. They don't have Michigan, they don't have Oregon, and they get Ohio State at home. They start out with West Virginia and Bowling Green before their first bye, and then they have Kent State. So 3 wins off the bat. It should be. West Virginia will be a bit of a challenge just because it's opening weekend. It's at West Virginia, but it's not a night game. It is not a night game. It's during the day, which I think gives Penn State every advantage they could ask for. So if they start out 0-3, you get Illinois at home, you get UCLA at home. There's 2 games you're going to be favored in. And then you have to go to USC. Now that's really probably the first toss-up game, first real big challenge, just because you're playing a team that can stretch your defense out vertically with Zachariah Branch, Mekhi Lemon, Deuce Robinson, and company. But will USC be able to stop you? That's the problem. You have Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, and a behemoth of an offensive line. And we haven't seen USC stop a team from running the ball in quite some time. And if that doesn't change, Penn State could easily run for 300 yards and win by 20 plus in this game. So you start out 6-0, then you have a bye week before a very tough 2-game stretch at Wisconsin, and then Ohio State comes to Beaver Stadium. Now, Wisconsin is on the road. Depending on what time of the day that game is, I think will play a huge part in how it goes. If it's a noon game and I had to pick right now, I'd go Penn State in a low-scoring game. I do think they'd win that. Ohio State will probably be a noon game again, and that will probably be a very close game. Will Howard, this will probably be the best defense that he's seen coming from Kansas State. And you're home at Beaver Stadium. That has to be something. Maybe like 2.5 points in the spread in your favor. We don't know if Penn State's actually going to be favored. We just don't know how the season's going to go. This is in November. Obviously, a lot's going to change from now in July until, week 10 of the season. And then you got Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland to end the season. Now, they'll be favorites in all those games. Washington and Maryland are the two toughest out of those four, and they're both at home. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there. All in all, like I said, I think 11-1 or 10-2 is reasonable for this. I think if you go 9-3, that is probably the biggest disappointment of the James Franklin era. Especially with this schedule, with what you have coming back. This is what Penn State fans have been waiting for. Nick Singleton, Drew Aller, Katron Allen, Abdul Carter, their junior seasons. Because when those guys came in as freshmen, that's all they talked about. That's all we heard about. Now the time is finally here to see if they can put all the pieces together and make a run at a Big Ten title. Will that happen? We're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, I think 10-2 or 11-1 is a reasonable expectation. Now to end the video, we're just going to take a quick look at their 2025 recruiting class and what's in store for them on the recruiting trail heading into the fall. Right now they sit at 13th overall in the recruiting rankings with 22 commits. So it's not the greatest commit number to ranking number, but it is what it is. They have Darius Dixon as their top commit. He's a corner out of Santa Ana, California from Mater Dei. They have Max Granville, an edge rusher, 16th in the country. Jameer Joseph, another corner. He's 25th. And then they have, as many Penn State fans know, LeVar Arrington Jr., a linebacker out of Charter Oak, California. Now, a lot of their top targets have already committed to them. They've actually gotten a good amount of their top targets. But going forward, there's not much left on the board, and that's why I'm not sure the ceiling's all too high for this class. Malachi Goodman and Ty Jackson are still on the board for them. I don't know if they'd lead for either one right now if I had to choose. Malachi Goldman looking at Georgia, Alabama, USC. Ty Jackson's leaning towards Florida State and Florida, the two home state schools for him. And the last big-time target is Nashawn Montgomery from Florida. He's a big-time receiver, 6'2", 170 pounds. He's a playmaker, and that's what Penn State needs. So if they can get him in the fold and beat out Miami, Florida, LSU for him, that would be huge. Penn State fans, let me know down in the comments. Are you satisfied with this recruiting class? If it was me, I'd say yes, I'm satisfied with it right now. But if you guys have the season you're capable of and what many people like myself think you guys can have, I think come signing day, if you go 11-1 and your only loss is to Ohio State, I'd be calling some of your top targets that you missed out on, like Samari Reed and Jadon Blair. Because heck, you never know what can happen. If you go to the playoff, have success, that can always pay off in recruiting. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. Penn State fans, let me know down in the comments what your expectations are for your Nittany Lions headed into 2024. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn on that bell icon so you get all future video notifications. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.